Hey, I'm Jason Parkin for Superstorm Roofing and Siding. I'm joined by Chandler Steffi, who's the owner and founder of Superstorm Roofing and Siding. And today we're going to talk about the evaluation process. So a storm has come through, done some damage. Maybe we've had some hail. Maybe we've had some wind. Maybe we've had both. You're contacted by a homeowner, by a business owner, and you need to go out and see, okay, what's been done here? And, walk us through how all of this works, what people can expect.
Well, a lot of property owners don't think about the condition of their property until after an event happens.
Right.
And if in a perfect scenario, in a scenario like we would like to see it, typically we've already been out to the property sometime that year, the year before, we've already done an evaluation because we want to be able to, we call it a baseline for our company, where we want to come out, create a baseline where we basically walk around the property. We're going to start in the front. We're going to do front overview photos, and we'll walk through, and I'll show you what those are here in a bit. And then we go left to right in the front. Then we go the right side, same thing. The rear, the left side. Then we climb up on the roof. We document everything we're seeing, everything from simple maintenance, wear and tear. Do you have a repair? How urgent is it? Is there anything that looks like storm damage? In this assessment, we'll look at everything. Then we get back down and then we present it to you, because most homeowners typically, the only times you ever look at your roof is when you're out doing yard work, mowing the yard, springtime, fall, you're getting ready for winter, and you don't think about, man, what's going on with my property? So after a storm event, that's basically what we do, and that's what homeowners want. Whether you're in the middle, lately we've had tornadoes, we do have hailstorms, whether you're right in the middle where you heard it coming down, you thought your roof was going to cave in because there was so much noise from the hail hitting it, or, maybe you were off the, just a little bit, even pea size to dime size, you still want to have it looked at just so you know what's going on. If there's been a tornado that's gone by, again, you just want to know what's happened and where am I at with my property.
So the purpose of this baseline is to have, and you guys store these images and the pictures you take is to be able to say, okay, here's what it looked like, let's say 2 years ago. This storm came through. Now we see changes, we see damage, and you can show that to an insurance adjuster and show that there's been damage, that it wasn't pre-existing, right? That that's part of it, right?
No, that's the importance of being able to do it twice. But after the event, I mean, if you've done it in the perfect scenario, you've done exactly what you're saying. We've already been out there. We've already done an evaluation. We've given you maintenance items you need to work on. You've addressed those, or else we're able to help you address them, in the short term before a storm event happens. Then if the storm event happens, we can come out and do it again. And then we can compare literally apples to apples. This is what it was like there then. This is what it's like today.
Right. So do you physically go on the roof when you do this, or what do you guys do?
What we do is truly physical. We do get up on the roof. We don't just look at a roof. A lot of times after a storm event, I need my roof looked at. Yeah, there's a lot more to it than just your roof. If you think you're going to want to file an insurance claim because of roof damage, you're filing a claim. You need to look at everything. And the reason I say that is insurance carriers, insurance adjusters, when they come out, they want to see the collateral. I call it a storyline.
Okay.
They want to see a storyline of what was the event, how did the event happen.
Right.
What direction, if it was a hailstorm, what direction was the wind coming from? How much wind was with it? What was the size of the hail? Then when they walk up to the property, if the wind was coming from, let's say, west to east, left to right on the house, well, obviously you would expect the left side of the house might have some type of collateral, which is showing signs of hail actually hitting the property. Or if it's like a derecho, there's high winds, you're going to see siding blown off on one side, or damages on a certain side. But then as you walk around the other side of the property, you're going to see less of that collateral. That's telling you the storyline before you even physically get up on the roof. Then once you get up on the roof, that's the same thing. There's the elevations that the wind was directly coming from. You're going to see signs of it, whether it's wind or hail. Or you get up on the opposite sides, you may not see it all over the roof, but there our areas, just by how wind flows, when wind blows and goes up over the ridge of the roof, it starts to spin.
Sure.
And it causes some suction, which
Turbulence, yeah.
turbulence. So you might be on the backside of the roof after a windstorm or an event comes through, and you may not see any wind damage, yet those shingles might have been sucked up off of the decking of the roof, and it's pulled the nails through the shingles where it looks perfectly fine from the ground, but there's actually the shingles are just laying there. And then it's just a matter of when's the right wind come along, when's the right storm come along to then blow the rest of those shingles off.
There's nothing holding them there at that point, or very little.
The shingle falls right back down into the nail, and it's just that little bit of friction between the two that holds it down, and then the sealant that sometimes helps stick it to the roof still. But
it's almost like a CSI thing, like you guys are going there after the crime and looking for evidence of what happened.
No, that's exactly what it is. And you're bringing the experience and our knowledge with us to help us identify what is it you're looking for. From the naked eye, it might look perfectly fine, yet if you dig down into it, you start to see, again, back to the storyline, what's going on. And some of the issues, and I'll call them issues, in the restoration process, roofing, siding, windows, gutters, exterior, even on the interior, along with that storyline, the insurance carrier, they're there to protect you. They're there to help you, right?
Right.
A contractor, what are they there to? They're there to help you. They're there to make sure that they can get the repairs done or full replacement done that needs to be happened. And in the perfect scenario, you can work together if there's not conflict. They're not out to get you. Now, an example I'm going to show today, we had a claim that's happened on a property where this adjuster isn't from Iowa. So after a storm event, they send a lot of times CAT adjusters out, adjusters from all over the country. That's what they do. They do for a living. They'll go to wherever the storm is for the insurance carrier.
Because the local people don't have the manpower to follow up with something big.
Yeah, if each carrier has maybe 3 to 5 local adjusters and a storm comes through and all of a sudden they get 500 claims,
right?
They can only process 3 to 5 claims a day, maybe even 3. Some of them only get 3 a day. How long is that going to take to get? And everybody, it's urgent. I want you here now. I need you here now.
And you think about, and we're recording this in 2024 in June, and we've had a record year for warnings that have been issued for severe thunderstorm and tornado. We've had so many tornadoes in Iowa. And you think about a day like the Greenfield Tornado Day when we had so many tornadoes across the state, and to your point, insurance companies getting these phone calls the next morning from people who want them there now and want it fixed now, and they just don't have the people.
And with the tornadoes like that, those are catastrophic events. So
right.
I think in Greenfield there were somewhere around 30 homes that were completely leveled. Well, that claim and what involves the process in it for the insurance carrier to take care of the homeowner, that is days of work. You know what I'm saying? In fact, it's weeks just to analyze, this is everything that happened. This is to figure it all out. Now, you might have outside of what happened in Greenfield, go to Mount Ayr this spring. There was a big hailstorm that went through Mount Ayr, significant hail that hit that town. You can go out and do a hail evaluation, and in a matter of an hour and a half, an adjuster can go out and assess all the damages, pretty much get it all documented, and be able to turn that claim. But once you get into these events where it's like winds or derecho. Or tornado, now you have a very complex claim that could be just a few $1,000s. But again, there's multiple items involved in the few thousand, or you could have the hundreds of thousands of dollars involved with it that are much more complex. And that's more challenging to these adjusters. And you go back to the local adjusters, again, they don't have the capacity to do it. So then the carriers will hire, or they have on staff, what they call catastrophic or CAT adjusters. When you hear a hurricane, there's a bunch of CAT adjusters that go to the coastline when a hurricane comes through.
Irma, Fort Myers. I can't imagine there must have been an army of adjusters that went down.
Yeah,
there.
and the thing with a hurricane is they know that event's coming weeks in advance. They see it, they prepare for it. They have adjusters literally hours away. You might be a state or two away, staying in a big town, ready to. And they're putting their game plan together, watching where that storm event happens. Up in our areas, you know there's a thunderstorm coming, but you don't know. You're in the weather. You don't know whether it's been a day, 2 days. Like that derecho we had a few years back, we didn't expect anything that day.
No, we knew there'd be severe thunderstorms that day, but not an event like that. Basically an inland hurricane.
Yeah, so the same thing, and they weren't ready to have it, and then you saw the results of it. It was 24 months later, 36 months later, there's still claims today that are getting finalized from that derecho that have happened. But where I was going with, you might have an event like the example I have here. It's a CAT adjuster that shows up. The adjuster is from out of state. They might be from Texas. They might be from Phoenix, Arizona. They might be from Florida. They've never experienced a tornado. Maybe in Texas they have, but in Phoenix, they don't know what a tornado is.
Yeah, or what the damage looks like.
And what the damage looks like. So when they go in to look at a storyline, and like in this case here, the adjuster shows up, he asks the homeowner, what direction was the wind from? How do you explain as a homeowner, and this is an example right here.
It was from every direction.
Yeah, this house was within 100 feet. The house that was 200 feet away is completely leveled, isn't there? And so this is just an example of, and I think I can pull this back out to map mode if you give me a second.
Sure.
Yeah, here it is. So I'm going to pull back out. And this is part of our process. We actually go out and our team has a drone. We fly a drone after we document everything. And this is the purpose because like right here, if you look at this house, I'll zoom out a little bit further, move it up. So I'm at this house. If I just draw lines from here, this house right here was completely leveled. Or excuse me, that house there had siding damage. I click from here. That's 1,200 feet away. You go to this one here. This house was gone. That was 1,200 feet away. This house right here, which was the neighbor, I am 250 feet away, and the house is complete. There's nothing there but the foundation. All these other houses, you can just look through and you can just see every house here, there's siding gone, there's part of the roof gone. Everything that you're looking at, there's an issue going on this property.
And I imagine National Weather Service people went through there afterwards and were looking for, how to rate the tornado, looking at wind speeds. So this is known to them. And I think of a guy like you when I think of them because they're used to going out and looking at storm damage. But you built homes for years. Now you've been in this industry for years. You've kind of seen everything. And you know when you're looking at something on a shingle, on a piece of siding, what caused it and how it happened by now.
I believe my career has allowed me to do that. I started out as a framing contractor, and I framed for 97, 98 through 2012. I was involved in framing. So I feel like myself and what I've taught my team is when you walk out to a property or pull up to an example, this house here, when I look at it, I literally look at it as if it's the skeleton. I see the framing. I'm understanding how everything's flowing at it. So as we're looking at it, it gives us a better perspective. And I'm doing the best I can within Superstorm to pass that knowledge along to our team. So as they're going around and doing their assessment, they get really detailed. To give you an idea, in today's world, since the derecho, I'll give you an example where our office is here in Urbandale. 3 years ago, there was 3 roofing contractors. Since then, within a half mile of my office, there's over 9 roofing contractors.
And is that because of the growth of the metro? Is that why there's so many?
It is the effects of storm events like the derecho. Sure. We've had hailstorms that have came through the last few years that has drummed people up from out of state. It's taken some companies that were here that may not have treated their employee the right way, so they quit and they started their own roofing company. And so it's a much different market. So again, going back to why do we do a baseline? Because we want to create a relationship with the community and with our homeowners. And obviously not 100% of the people we do a baseline are going to reach back out to us. It may not be the right scenario for them, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But our goal is to get a certain percentage of those to, hey, call us back up. So after a storm event comes up, we already have that relationship. But after a tornado like the one in Greenfield or that hailstorm that happened in Mount Ayr, if you haven't already had a relationship with a contractor, then what starts happening is this.
Here they come.
And it's nonstop.
Right.
And there's companies like myself, our company, yes, we do go door to door. And we do that for a purpose because we're trying to come out because we're trying to offer a community service. And I truly believe it's a community service in what we do because there's nobody else that offers a baseline for before a storm event happens. Now, unfortunately, I am in business to make money, so we're obviously going to go after the storm event because I know this neighborhood right here, they're going to need to get roofs on their property or they're going to need siding, they're going to need some help, so let's help them. And that's what we do. But where I'm going at is these guys that are going out and door knocking, a very high percentage of them, and we've watched it happen, we're out doing our evaluation, and it takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. I know that sounds like a lot of time, but your home is one of, if not the biggest investment in your life outside of your family, your children.
Well, frankly, if it took shorter than that, I'd be wondering how thorough it was. So that's wonderful.
Well, but that's what separates it. And we sit there while we're doing evaluations on these homes, and we're watching the house next door. A contractor shows up in 10 minutes, or they climb up on the roof, they get off the roof, they walk up the door, they talk to the homeowner, then they're gone.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, 30 minutes later, another contractor shows up, or somebody comes down the street, knocks on the door, they're up on the roof in 15 minutes, and they get back off, they tell the homeowner they're gone. And we're an hour later, 45 minutes later, and we're getting down off the roof, and the neighbors are like, I don't know what you're doing, but I want you to come look at my property.
Right.
Because our details, they're coming and they're doing evaluation and they're taking their 5 to 10 photos, and there's probably people listening to this that's had this happen. They get up on their roof, they pull up, oh, look at this photo, look at this photo, look, oh, 5, 10 photos later, you know what you need to do? You need to file a claim with your insurance carrier, and then we'll be there to take care of it. Just call us and let us know when that adjuster's coming out. And it's that simple. Or they'll say, hey, we'll meet your adjuster out here. I need you to sign this contingency contract. And basically they're trying to get you to sign in that if it gets approved, they're going to do all the work.
We're first in line.
Yeah, but based off of a photo and 5-10 minutes worth of looking at your roof and coming down, you just chose your contractor on your most valuable possession in your life.
And
does
I
that
imagine,
make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I imagine something that's quick and dirty like that has less of a chance of getting them through the insurance process than something like you do.
Well, yeah, and there's different approaches to that while they do it, because a lot of times when they're standing there in front of the homeowner after they've done their 10-minute evaluation, then what they do is they start, some of them, I'm not going to say all contractors, but some of them will start pitting the insurance carrier or the adjuster against the homeowner.
Right.
And they're going to play this story. And there's a storyline right now, let's be real, across the nation, there's a storyline that insurance companies are leaving states like Florida, like Texas.
It's happening in Iowa.
It's happening in Iowa. There's
Yeah.
a big article in the Register just the other day about what's going on in the industry. And they're saying to these homeowners, they're going to come up and they're going to try not to pay you. They're going to take advantage of you. They're going to miss this, this, and this. And they're literally already, before the insurance carrier gets an opportunity to present themselves to their customer, that they're there for them, they're pitting that homeowner a lot of times against them. And I'm not saying it's all of the contractors out there, but a lot of them, that's their storyline. And we feel that by going out and doing a thorough evaluation, having it documented, I'm able to present it. So if there was a claim, the homeowner decides to file a claim, I can take my documentation, send it over in a file to that insurance adjuster or carrier before the adjuster even comes out. Now you got adjusters showing up to a property that has already looked at pictures. If they're doing their job right, they're already looking at pictures and they're like, okay, I see what the condition of this property. Man, there's some stuff going on here. This is going to be really detailed.
Right.
And they also know that when they're getting out of their vehicle and they're pulling up to look at the property, that I'm dealing with a contractor that knows what they're doing. And they're going to represent the customer the way it needs to be represented, and we're here to work with them. And our conversation as we walk around the property after the claim's been filed, the adjuster's there, and we're meeting the adjuster, we're simply walking through this documentation, i.e. what you see here, and showing them this is what we've seen. Does this make sense? In my professional opinion of over 30 years of construction, I'm seeing that this isn't normal. This here isn't normal wear and tear. This here isn't normal. And then when you're done, you've got a better relationship with that adjuster. Now we're all coming together as, okay, yes, this all makes sense. And then it helps the homeowner out because now they trust their insurance carrier, they trust the adjuster, their agent's taking care of them the right way, and I got a contractor that knows what he's doing.
So in an ideal world, you would have had a baseline done.
Mm-hmm.
Then the storm comes.
Yep.
And then what? Do you contact the insurance person? Do you contact you? Do you contact them both? How does that work?
There's different approaches, whatever is comfortable to homeowners. Some homeowners have never filed a claim. In 25, 30 years of living at their house, they have a great relationship with their agent. It's their best friend. It's their dad's brother's friend, son, or something like that.
Some connection.
In those, you got to respect relationships, and you allow it to go that route. It's really easy, or the simplest way to do it is to simply just call up your insurance carrier, whoever it is, whatever insurance company you have. They all have claim lines. It's an 800 number. You call them up, and they have just a series of questions. When was the storm date? When did you see this happen? What are you seeing? What are the issues you're having? Is the house livable right now? If it's not livable, they'll walk them through the process, and then they'll document it all, and then they'll say, you know what, if there's something that needs services now, go ahead, have your contractor take care of it. Do you, quite frankly, even have a contractor?
Right, do you have a relationship?
Yeah, because in the storms that have happened here lately, a lot of homeowners have filed their own claim. The adjusters are coming out on their own. They really are just going through the process, and then afterwards they're going to go pick a contractor. So our recommendation is do what's right for you, but typically we'll go through the claims line and call through that. But the homeowner does.
What if there's a disagreement between what the adjuster finds and what you guys find? Then what happens?
There's a lot of different directions. I can go down to our competition, or I can go down to the other contract. I mean, looking at across the industry as a whole, some of those contractors fight back and forth with the adjusters. We sit down and we ask them, what do we need to find? We go get if there's any documentation that we've missed, we go out and find it. If it's something about a product, we'll go identify we're trying to be the legwork for the adjuster.
Okay.
Most adjusters, if there's anything that looks like you can tell whether it's very small percentage, you can tell isn't from a storm event, so that's in its own category, but most everything else, it might be an issue with the siding. It might be the color of the siding, or do they even have that product anymore?
Right.
And what's interesting, going back to the problem in the industry, the manufacturers are privy to it. Every 3 to 5 years they're changing the color of their siding, or they're changing there's things that they continually are changing, because if something is obsolete and it's 8-10 years down the road, there's not a product to replace it.
So they got to replace the whole thing.
So it's elevational or whatever that is. So we try to be that person or that company that can help that adjuster find the things he needs.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Would you mind showing us some of the things that you see when you're out there? Is that something you can do?
Yeah. Our process is we're going to go out and we're going to look at a property.
Okay.
So, like, for example, first thing I do is I pull up in the driveway. In this example right here, I'm in the driveway. I'm going up the front door. I'm talking to the homeowner, and this is what this property looked like. And then we basically start walking through it. We always look at the driveway, because if I do have to do work, I'm going to look at the driveway. And then I just start making details. So here's an example right here. In this case, the adjuster, again, out of the Phoenix area, came up and he said to a homeowner, this is wear and tear.
Well, that's hardy plank.
That's hardy plank.
So
that's
it's not wear and
board.
tear. I don't.
No.
Yeah.
Well, in my professional opinion,
right,
this right here appears to be the wind was vibrating the siding so much, and there was so much turbulence going on that it actually cracked this siding. You can see right in here where the crack's continuing in through here.
Because remember, a tornado went right by this house.
This went right by the house. So we'll just keep going down. Then you look, and this is right above, I believe, the front window of this house. You can see where we have stuff where right in through here it's hitting. You can see and the thing that was amazing about this house as we went around it was the amount of insulation. If you can imagine taking a semi-truckload of attic insulation, blown insulation, throwing it up in the air in a rainstorm, this house is literally plastered with insulation.
And that's from the other houses that got destroyed.
From all the other houses right now. And you can see here I have 150, I got 230 photos from this property. But you're just going through and we're looking at all the details, and some of them are sideways. But as you're walking, driving through, like here, you can see how the wood, something hit it.
Right.
You can see the debris coming across the face. I mean, this is a very nice house. And the homeowners don't leave it in the condition that it's in right now.
Sure.
So as we're walking around, here's the front left elevation, and we just start walking across elevation by elevation. See all this insulation and over the front of it?
Yeah.
All the way across here. That isn't how this house is.
No.
So, and in this case here, the insurance carrier, the adjuster came out and he said, you know what, we'll do a power wash on the front of the house. So they have taken care of them, but there's some disagreement on whether it's actually maintenance or whether it's wear and tear or whether it's from the storm, if that makes sense. So again, looking through, you can just see all the insulation as you go through the property, coming across the front. We're looking at the front windows. A lot of times with a storm, and like in this event here, it was a tornado, and this is a sealed window, a double pane sealed. And what happens a lot of times is as those tornadoes come by, the suction, the pressure changes, actually
rapidly.
And it causes the gas of these windows to actually come out of it.
Oh, wow.
So you're not going to see that issue here until sometime probably in October when the weather starts to change. And then they'll get up one day and they'll look out their window and their one pane's fogged.
Because water vapor got in there.
Yeah. And some people don't realize that even at their own personal house. It might be a windstorm that came by, and then they walk up their window and what happened to my windows? My window's bad. Well, a lot of times it's from an event just like something like this that goes by.
Sure.
But I just keep scrolling through, and you can just see hail damage, something hitting the downspouts. So we got some downspout on it.
And that's an example, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that wasn't big hail, but it's being driven by very strong winds.
Very strong winds.
Yeah.
And in this case here, if you can imagine 5 houses within, 300 yards of this house, for a quarter mile of this house, right here's an example. If you look at this picture, something hit that garage door.
Pretty hard.
Pretty hard.
Probably debris.
Yeah, that would be what I would assume by going through it. It appears, and how we talk to adjusters is, hey, it appears something hit this. Don't know what it is, but something definitely hit it. And if you
it could have been a baseball kid playing. We don't know.
I.e., if we create the baseline before this event happens, guess what I already have documented?
Right.
I have this photo right here, and I can say, you know what, that wasn't here before this storm event. That's a new garage door, or at least a new panel for a garage door if they still make that garage door.
Right.
Over here, you can see on the third stall garage, there's actually some damage here, which we'll get to right there. That's something actually hit the garage door.
And we can see that tree there pushed over from the wind.
Yep, the wind pushed over from there. Here's an up-close photo. Again, something hitting it. And a lot of times with garage doors after a storm event, it sucks the garage door in or pushes the garage door out, which is a problem for homes. That's
a lot of times how the home fails. The wind gets into the garage, and
then it gets up into the attic, the attic access, and then you got suction going through the whole house. But there's an example right here, and we'll just keep, again, look at all this insulation that's around the house.
Man.
You can see the splatter. In this case here, in our experience in the past, we've had carriers that have actually paid for a power wash and a repaint of the house, because that isn't something that goes away.
No.
That's going to be there. Again, above the garage door, you can see how this is cracked. And if you look at this piece of siding, you see how it's dropped down?
Yep.
So when the wind's coming by, number one, it's just sitting there and vibrating.
Right.
And if you can imagine something vibrating to the point of it causes the nails that is holding that Hardy, that Smart, or whatever siding you have, it gets it to where it starts to loosen. And then a lot of these pieces in this example, you can take your hand on that piece of siding, you can sit there and you can move that piece of siding around. And I challenge anybody that hasn't been around or had a house that gone next to a tornado, walk up to your Hardy or Smart siding, LP siding, and see how much it moves.
Right.
It doesn't move. And so in this case here, it just appears again.
So literally the wind is making that siding vibrate between the nails like a guitar string.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And you can see these are just right here. It's something. It looks like it's maybe part of a roof. It's something asphalt hit this board right here.
Yeah.
And so this is, and right now we're just coming across the front elevation. And this is some of our documentation. You know what? We looked at the downspouts. Our guys already have with them. They have the gutter colors. So we already know what the match is on this for the gutter. So when it comes time, and that's why when you have somebody that comes to do your evaluation after event, you want that guy to be the person that's going to be the one doing the work. Because if they're doing their job right now, they're already starting to prep themselves for, okay, I know what the gutters are on this. I know what I need for my dimensions, and they're documenting all this. And we do this along the way. Right now, all I'm showing you is the photo report.
Right.
But we have another report that goes in, what's the product? How many linear feet of it? In a gutter, for example, is it a 2x3 downspout? Is it a 3x4 downspout? What's the color of it? What's your total? Does your downspout coming out, does it have a hinge to open it and close it? Does it have Velcro that holds it up so when you're mowing? Those are all small little things. But imagine after you get your job done, you mow your lawn and you're used to grabbing your downspout and just flipping it up and it Velcros up and it's out of your way, to you get done getting all your work done, and then guess what? Your downspout doesn't fold up.
Right.
Now you got, oh my gosh, now I got to take my downspout out, and it just
it's a pain.
It's a pain.
Yeah.
And so that sounds crazy, but you have to get down to those little details. And the guy and the contractor that shows up and in 10 minutes gets on their roof, looks at your roof and gets out. Why did he get on the roof? Because it's the most valuable part of the project to make money on. They can be in and out in a day, and they can make a good income off of it, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But they don't want to deal with the little stuff.
Right.
And that's extremely important, again, when you're looking at who you want and who's going to do your evaluation.
I mean, you want to be made whole. You want the house to look like it did before the tornado came through,
Yep.
or the hail or the wind.
I'll try to scooch down here a little bit farther so I get to another elevation. Here on the elevation, see how each one of these, how they stick out?
Yeah.
And you can see how they drop down?
That's amazing.
Here's another crack. And you can tell that it's fresh, it's not old.
That's got to be corrected, or water's getting in there, right?
You have failure to it. Yeah, you can have water get. In this case here, this board underneath it, if you can see the cursor here, right about in here is the top of this piece.
Okay.
Anything that comes up above this is now getting all the way back to your moisture barrier, which would be like your Tyvek or whatever. And if you go back old enough, Tyvek wasn't a requirement till the early 2000s, maybe late 1990s.
Okay.
But if you had a house that was built early 90s, Tyvek, when I started framing, we weren't required to Tyvek a home. And we didn't. So there's houses. There was houses back in the day in 97, 98 that I personally cited, and it wasn't a code. It wasn't a requirement. So
does that require replacement of the hardy plank to be done correctly, or can you seal it, or how does that work?
In this case here, typically as a contractor, I feel that piece of siding needs to be replaced.
Okay.
All right. So in this case here, to replace that piece of siding, if you notice, do you see any nails?
Mm-mm.
So this piece of board, which is a cement board, is fastened behind this board right here, every 16 inches on a stud.
Right.
All right? And the problem you have is I can get that board out. I can get most of those nails pulled out or at least driven back in above it, but how am I going to put a new board in there without me, for example, face nailing on top of the siding? Do you want to go through and do you, on your personal home, want to have a nail face nailed through the front and your rest of your house doesn't have it?
No.
That isn't why you have
that
isn't why you have LP siding or you have smart siding. You have it for the look.
Right.
So in some cases, some carriers, they will do a repair on it and they'll have you face nail it on it. Now that comes down to the owner and whether the owner wants to accept that as the repair or not being the repair. And we've done that before, and I've had homeowners that said, you know what, this works for me.
We don't care, that's fine.
Yeah, but when you typically get to a certain level of a home, that isn't some. Or in some cases, you already have a home where they already have some of their siding that's face nailed. They've already, in that case, in the insurance carrier's mind, they've already accepted you can face nail it and it's not an issue. So here you can see how that piece is completely, how it's completely pulled off from the side and how it's dropped.
I just think this is amazing. I've never seen this.
So in this house here, as we go through, and again, I'm at page 32 of all these pages, and look at all it just, he said when we met with the homeowner, his comment was, it was like my house has been sandblasted.
Yeah.
And you can see.
Well, and he was a football field away from a tornado, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, or
Well,
somewhere
he has
roughly.
a dumpster in front of his house that he has metal from metal buildings, who knows from where, and he had plywood. He has studs in his dumpster that was blowing in the air.
Wow.
But you can see this is an extremely nice home. And over in this area here, you can actually see it in this photo. If you look right along here, you can this has all been blown off. All this right here is completely loose, ready to fall off on this home.
Jeez.
Where there's been a repair in the past, you can see how it's all dropped. But this is, again, we're just glowing through, and we're getting all the documentation on everything on the whole property. Here's some more on the downspouts. You're looking at every single elevation. Let me come right back. Where was the one I was just going to show? That's coming around the backside.
So this just shows how thorough you guys are.
Yep. I'll kind of speed back up and kind of get down to where we actually get up on the roof. But in this case here, before we got on the roof, there was over 22 pieces of siding that were completely cracked through, like that example that we had up there.
So the drone helps you ultimately estimate what you're going to need if you need to replace the roof, if you need to replace the gutters, the siding. It helps you measure all that and figure out what you're going to need. And it also can look at damage. But what I gather is you can't replace someone physically going up and looking at it, a human being looking at it.
So technology, and a lot of people in the industry are saying, oh, drones are going to take over. We won't have to have physical inspections. I personally disagree with it. I'm well vested into drones. In our company, we have 28 drones that our team. We have 22 licensed drone pilots.
Wow.
I believe in this technology. I believe the advantages that it brings a homeowner. I believe the advantages that it brings to a process like this. I believe in the advantages it has in creating baselines for homeowners, if that makes sense. But I also believe and am an advocate for a physical evaluation. And I can show you, an example right here. This is a 10-12 pitch. This is a very steep roof. A lot of insurance carriers won't even allow their adjusters on this roof because it's too steep of a risk.
Too dangerous.
Too dangerous. But however, we're able to get up on it. We did a physical evaluation, and if you look, right here is a skylight. That's hail or debris that was hitting this skylight. This skylight now has damages to it in the flashing, potential leaking.
Sure.
There's all different things that could happen. So this type of physical evaluation, you're able to get that the photos that you need. Let's see if I can get some of the up close. I didn't take these photos. I actually was the one that was on the roof that was actually making all the marks that you're seeing. Right here, you can see what the adjuster had said. He said there was no damage on this elevation. As you look at it, you can see right in here. You can see where something struck this roof in different places. This line here, that shingle was actually pulled up above it. Let's see if I get some more close ones.
And because of that, it's going to be flapping in the wind if you get the wind from the right direction now.
Yeah. Now, again, in our evaluation here, I had shown you on the other documentation where I was showing the other house. That's the house that's 300 feet north of his house. Trusses gone, siding completely gone. Here's a house right here. This house right here, you can see how it actually has tarps on the roof.
Right.
So we're also documenting the neighbors' homes. I mean, look at that.
Wow, and all the tree damage.
All the trees that are down. This house right here, you can see the structural damage of the roof. That house there is completely gone. This house here, plywood was blown off of the roof. And again, this goes back to why we use the product we use. They have an Owens Corning duration shingle, which has this sure nail technology up to 130 mile an hour winds.
Wow.
In the derecho, we had an event happen, multiple homes where the plywood was literally blown off the roof and the shingles were still attached to the plywood.
They're tenacious.
Yeah, the shingles didn't come off. The plywood came off, and that's what happened on this house next door. The plywood came off, and the shingles were still on the plywood. And the next day, he's a contractor. This owner here, from my understanding, is a contractor. He actually had a roofing crew out the next day and re-roofed the roof.
Wow.
So the reason you don't see damages on it is because it has a new roof.
He just
the very next day after the tornado, he had somebody there putting a roof on.
He wants to stay in his house.
Yeah, and he didn't want any more damages. More views. This is the house next door that was gone. You can see over here the damages. There's that dumpster. So again, we're just going through. There you go.
That's hail.
You can see where
Or
something
debris.
debris. In this case here, was there hail in it? You've been in weather. I personally believe that every tornado has some type of hail potentially in it.
Well, the
Because
updraft
the
is
updraft-
strong enough to produce some. Usually,
Yeah, I don't.
may
think-
not be big hail, but
not be big hail, but when you're talking the type of winds that you had, and you can see, look at how my example was, it was like you were standing 40 yards away, 30, 40 yards away from a house, and you had bird shot, and you were taking your shotgun, your 12 gauge, and you were shooting it at your roof.
right.
And you can see how you just, there's granule loss. Here's some more. You can just look through where, right there, something hit that roof
Right.
and got up underneath the shingle. And these are just different examples of what's going on. Here's the ridge cap where this shingle, yes, it's been blown up. It's laid back down. The nail on this one here, on this shingle here, is actually pulled through the shingle. So it comes down to the documentation. And I guess as I'm sitting here taking just 10 minutes explaining it, the more thorough you are, the more documentation you have, the better case you have going back to your carrier. I mean, if you look at this photo right here, specifically something hit that, and it's fresh because you can see how dark it is.
Oh, you can tell if it's been weathered. and
Yeah.
been
See
there a
how
while.
dark this is? It's
Yeah.
a lot darker. But yeah, but it just goes through case by case, and it's showing you. I want to show you this one. I'm going to at least turn it to you.
Okay.
That's like that shotgun,
Yeah, it looks like a shotgun shot that shingle.
right? You can see right in through here. And so, again, right there, shotgun. Something hit that, and it was interesting to me. You only saw this on the northeast slope of this house, which told me that's the back side where it's curling back in as it went by. That back wind was pulling stuff into it, which would
Right.
have been that house right next door to a little bit south of him, yes, east. But as it picked that debris up, it pulled it around and was bringing it right back into the house. That was my mindset thinking about a tornado. What's my storyline as I create it as it goes through?
So very thorough.
Yeah.
But what this shows, again, is what you were talking about earlier, that it's good to have you guys come out and do a baseline. So you can see, okay, this wasn't here before.
100%. Because you can compare the apples to apples. I'm going to go back through and pull this up where we're on the screen so I can show the next. Again, up-close photos. So now you're seeing the up-close photos of the hail that looks like or debris that hit these skylights. And again, every slope. And in this case here, I got really detailed because I knew the adjuster had already been out. And you can see from everything that you're seeing here, in this case here, the carrier, photo after photo after photo, the carrier, their claim, their proposal or their estimate was for a little over $5,900.
Which seems woefully inadequate for the damage you've showed.
Well, here, just this ceiling alone, this is on their pool house. And that whole drop ceiling, which was a hardy 4x8 sheets of plywood, I believe he got an estimate from a contractor for over $2,900 just for this one ceiling. And you can see that there's more than this. There's a garage. There's all these other added. And again, there's nothing wrong with what the carrier did. They had their guy come out. They represented him.
He's not trying to be dishonest. He just didn't see the extent of it.
This is what he saw, and he didn't have anybody else out there with him. You know, he wasn't from this area. He was from Phoenix. It was obvious, or felt like, to the homeowner that he had never been in a tornado situation before and understood where the wind was coming from. And we were actually asked in this case to come out by the carrier or by the agent to look at the property and say, hey, can you just give us another look? Because we want to make sure. I mean, so I was actually asked to come out by his agent. And after this documentation,
that's great.
Yeah, and so after this documentation, because the agent actually knows what we do and he understands our process.
And he trusts you guys.
And he trusts us in what we do. Let me see if I can pull. Yep. So this, and then after we're completely done, what we do with our drone technology is we actually fly the property.
So, and this creates basically a 3D model of the home, a
Yep.
high-resolution 3D model of the home.
Yep. And to show you, I'm just going to show you how the drone, so it flies autonomously.
So you say take off, and it does everything.
Yep. So right here, you can see that line. That line right there is showing how this drone flew over the property. And every 5 to 10 feet, it stops and takes a photo. So I'm going to show you right now. Every blue dot is a photo that it took. So you can see how it's flying around. So I can come down to like this spot right here. I can click on that. That's the actual photo. Or go to the one right beside it. I'll go to this one. That's the photo. Then I can look at that photo up close. This is a file that I can share. I can share this with the agent. I can share this with the homeowner. I can share it with the adjuster. This is documentation that I can show them. This is what, so literally, I mean, you haven't ever been on this roof. Do you feel like you're on the roof?
Oh, totally. I mean, especially when you zoom in and see how good the resolution from this camera is.
You can see right where the nail is. You can see it, like in this case here, that nail, no matter what, he needed to see, his nails need to be sealed. So let's go back. Let's go back to the maintenance side of things. Let's say we weren't here after a storm event.
It looks like the one over here was sealed. Am I wrong?
This one might have had some sealant on it, but it's kind of rusting through, which means water's getting to it. This one over here isn't sealed. You know, we have a $199 special that we do that for $199. We're going to come out to this home, and we will seal and we'll replace up to 5 shingles on the roof.
Oh, cool.
For $199. And so that's basically what we do. But again, so that's showing you how the drone flies. It shows you then after it gets done doing that flight, it actually does a radial. See these photos here?
Mm-hmm.
So to give you an idea, it flies in a radius around this property. And what it's able to create for me, and I think I got myself way out.
Oh, on the file.
Yeah, on the file, so I'm way far away.
It's a pixel.
This is in 2D, so I can look at it in 2D. And when I go down in 2D, you can see let it zoom in here. All right, see all the blue dots?
That's all the damage.
That's where I physically had gone over that roof and I'd done my evaluation. So the reason we like doing that, especially in a case like this one here, the insurance carrier, they can see exactly where I was at. They can see, it isn't like I was on this roof for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I got back off.
Right.
I'm actually documenting it. I use the roof as a chalkboard. All of these white marks, that adjuster was there the day before. So these are all the marks that he was saying or the adjuster looked at and had done his evaluation from.
Basically, he missed a lot. And not trying to be dishonest, he just didn't have the experience you guys have.
It appears that what he was looking at compared to what we were looking at was different. There was stuff that I was seeing that is concerning to myself as a contractor and what I would recommend that needs to be done. And
if
so
it was your house.
If it was my house. Oh, yeah. If this was my house, there'd be, and again, here we are in the 3D. I can zoom right down in, and you can see the different spots where there is granule loss. Some carriers will say that granule is not a functional issue for a roof.
It's aesthetic?
It's aesthetic. It's cosmetic.
Oh, okay.
All right? So they want it to be functional damage. And however, as a contractor, there's components that go to a shingle. The one component is the granule. The granule is there to protect the matting from getting direct sunlight, so then it starts to dry it out, and then it will start to crack over time.
Okay.
You lose granules due to a hailstorm, or you lose granules to an event like this or whatever. Over time, that is what causes the matting to start to give away and break. Once it starts to break, it cracks. With hail, for example, after a year to 2 years where that hailstone hits, and it could be sooner than that if it's really like Texas-size hail, it'll crack it, and that's when water can start penetrating down in it. And we're in Iowa. In the wintertime, what were we last winter? 100, we were 40 degrees below zero for
we
2 weeks?
There, yeah.
Yeah,
and we had basically 2 weeks of bad winter, yeah.
Yeah, and next week, not this coming week, next week we're supposed to be 94, 95.
Right.
What do you think the temperature on that roof's going to be?
Oh, I can't imagine.
110?
Yeah.
It's going to be hot. So we have an extreme, that expansion, that contraction allows that roof to not last its full lifetime. And a lifetime of a shingle like this should be 25 to 35 years.
Wow.
If it's maintained correctly, which then goes back to why do we want to do the evaluation before a storm event? Because we want to help the homeowners maintain the life expectancy of that roof and make it last as long as it can.
And is this something you do free? You just come out and do the evaluation, a baseline for people, or how does that work?
Nope. We actually do the evaluation for free. We just, like I said before, we just introduced the $199, where we're going to come out and do the full physical evaluation while the evaluation's going on. One of our repair maintenance guys are going to get up on the roof. They're going to do all the sealant on it. They're going to identify any issues. You know, we're in Iowa last winter when it hit that Arctic cold blast of 30 below and we had 30 inches of snow. Where's there ice damming? Is there issues in those areas? We also offer with our evaluation to those homeowners that want it a free attic inspection. Oh. So we actually go into the house, we look at, check your ceilings out, we look for areas where there might be moisture coming through. Then we get up in the attic to make sure that you have proper insulation. When it was installed, are your baffles functioning correctly? Do you have the right amount of intake through your soffits? So air is flowing through the attic space.
Right.
And it's unfortunate in the world, in our market, in the building process, the attic or the insulation in the attic isn't monitored or checked as closely as it needs to be. And a lot of homes, especially new homes, aren't getting the right amount of insulation.
Oh, they don't have enough.
Well, there's different types of insulations. You have the Owens Corning blown in, bad insulation that gets blown in, all right? So it's blown in, and in Owens Corning, the thickness doesn't need to be as thick as an economy-based, all right? So when you get into the attic, there's a measurement thing that the insulation guy sticks up against the trusses. Owens Corning has theirs, all right, which is rated for their insulation. So what happens is they'll go in and blow in the first 3 to 4 inches will be Owens Corning, and then what they do is they blow on top of it
the cheap stuff.
Or they'll blow the cheap stuff in, and then on top of the cheap stuff, they blow the OC in, and then you look at the measurement, and it's like, oh, you only need 10 inches or 12 inches. And reality is you need 18 or increased more, so they don't have the proper insulation. So we like to have, especially if we're going to put a new roof on the house, any roof we put on, we want to have an attic evaluation so we know what the insulation is. And I would say, I could talk to our third party, but I believe it's like 60 to 70% of the attics that he inspects for us are not insulated correctly.
Wow.
They need another 6 to 8 inches of insulation.
So you're paying more for heat, you're paying more for AC.
And the worst thing is in the summertime, in a lot of the newer homes, all of your ductwork is ran through the attic space, right? And so there's cold air you're blasting through an attic space where next week it's going to be 90 degrees.
So the attic is 120, 130?
And it's humid in that attic, especially if it isn't insulated correctly or it's venting correctly. So now it's super hot in there. How many times have you walked into a house, or maybe you haven't, but you're in a 2-story, and as you're walking up the stairs in the summertime, you can feel
you can tell
2 to 3 degrees?
Yeah.
That's what this is. You're not in the attic isn't insulated correctly. But that ductwork is blasting super cold air through there. You got hot, humid Iowa hot air in the attic that's flowing through. It touches that cold. It causes the humid air to condensate around that tubing or around a duct that you have in the ceiling. And the next thing you know, you look up at your ductwork. And in fact, we're looking at one today out in Urbandale, Clive area, where the homeowner said, hey, I've got there's rust around I've got mold around my vent.
Oh, mold is bad. And that's why.
It's condensation.
Right.
That house was a 2018 home show, and they're showing signs of mold in it. And it isn't because the roof's bad. It's got condensation coming off this piping. So we have our guy actually is going out there, I believe at 1 o'clock today, or 3 o'clock today, and looking at that space to help the homeowner out. So yes, our whole process is detailed for the homeowner to understand their home.
If people want to have this done, what do? Just call you guys and get it on the schedule?
There's multiple ways. One way is you can, we're on Facebook, jump on Facebook. You can contact us through that. Call us 515-225-4880. That's our office number. Allison will gladly answer your call, ask you a few questions, and get you on the schedule. We also have through our website. You can actually jump on our website. You can meet the team, and on meeting the team, you can look at everybody that we have on staff. There might be somebody that tells the story of every single person. You might find one of our representatives that you like, or you would like to work with them in particular. You can actually click on their name and schedule one with them. So we have multiple ways to help people out.